Hello and welcome to Heywood and Stuff. My name is Heywood and this is the podcast that I do when I have mental space and clarity and just a need to do it when the dopamine levels allow me to. And today I've got Laura Daly in the studio and I'm hoping we're going to dig into a conversation where I'll get some insights around topics such as feminism, misogyny, which I've got some opinions on, and the patriarchy. But first, I guess I'd like a little introduction into your background and how that's brought you to what you're doing now.
I am very typically a northern working class lass and have been brought up as such and have been surrounded by people who are that. And I think there is a level of misogyny that goes unchecked to the point where it is actually just expected and the standard of behaviour that we've been brought up with throughout the 80s and the 90s that spills out to now.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really something that was even on my radar. I never even thought it was a thing that existed until about 9-10 years ago, my husband got heavily involved in local politics, asked me to come along. It was 9 years ago because I was 8 months pregnant for my first ever political meeting, and I went to it with a huge stomach with my husband, and I walked in and everybody just lost their shit. Lost their shit at me.
Because you're a woman, or especially because you're a pregnant woman in the room?
Because they thought I was there to spoil a vote that I had no business being there for. And I was like, oh, this is really poor treatment. And they were screaming. And there were other people in the room who were doing the same thing, who was their first meeting that they came along for, because it was like a vote, that was a big, important meeting locally. And none of the men got shouted at. And I kind of didn't really clock it until my husband was like, hang on a minute, this is not okay. And I was like, yeah, this is not okay. Anyway, I forgot about it and I was like, that was not a nice experience. I don't know that I want to be involved in politics anymore. One of my jobs at the time that I had, there were, this is an awful story and I don't enjoy telling it, but it was a warehouse. There were a lot of big burly blokes around. I worked in the office with five other women, and there was just something off. I wasn't sure what it was, but I could feel that people sort of sending emails to each other and having a laugh. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? I want to know. My resting state as well is that I assume everybody hates me. So I was like, oh, well, they're talking about me. And I was like, have a look at the emails. They're obviously not talking about you. Stop being silly. And I looked and they were talking about parts of my body they had no business talking about. And it was really sort of gross. And these were grown men. And I was like, this is not okay. So I burst into tears and I left and I went home, and just the feeling of I had done something wrong and I was really upset and I was going to have to just pull myself together and go back to work.
Stiff upper lip type of thing,
exactly,
just get on with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, they're just lads, being lads. And the women were involved as well, which was, I'm sure, something we'll get to talk about later on, about how women sort of do prop this behaviour up.
Enable it, yeah.
And my husband, he's a trade unionist, and he was the one who was, he was just like, this is outrageous. And I kind of, it made me feel a bit better that somebody would stick up for me like that. Because I was like, oh, you know what, you're right, it is actually not okay. And he was like, why did you think for a second it was? And I'm like, I guess it's 25 years of just being used to this sort of behaviour. And then we went back to the politicsy part, and there was a vote for a women's officer. And my husband was like, you should do this. You know, you're good at talking to people. I think you've had good experiences in terms of things that are not okay. And even then I was like, oh, like what? And he's like, Laura, come on, and listed the things of situations I've been in where it was really uncomfortable. I'd been treated poorly because I was a woman. I was like, oh, maybe I do have a bit of an insight. So I became the women's officer for a local political party, and just really tried to spread awareness on behaviours that were not okay, try and encourage women to be involved in their communities or politically, and then met loads of incredible women who were doing that already. And then that leads us on to the Women's Banner Group, which is something that I started in County Durham. If you have ever been to the Durham Miners Gala, it is a yearly celebration of trade unionism, solidarity. It's wonderful, and it goes back to the pits. So each pit would come to the Miners Gala with their big, beautiful silk banner. They would march that through the city centre of Durham with brass bands, and it's stunning, and it happens every year. It was last weekend as well, so that's just been on. You should definitely go. But there's never been anything for women, ever. It's a lot of men, a lot of white men. And I just thought, I wonder why. And I'd met a lot of people who had been, I guess, fundamental in keeping communities alive through the 1984-85 miners' strike. They set up, they set up free cafes for people to feed families when the workers weren't at work. They weren't able to go down the pit and earn any money. They travelled the world, did put on plays for people to get money. Bruce Springsteen sent them a check just to help, and it was huge. And this was all the women who did all this. And I just was very quickly learning that women tend to do these incredible things and then disappear. They don't talk about it. They just do the job and then go.
They don't celebrate it.
Yeah, they don't.
And is that part of the problem, right? That women are kind of, is that the narrative? Like, do your job and then don't over-celebrate?
I think so, but I think it's self-inflicted. I think that's just the way we're brought up. I think it's the way women organise. They just get on with the job at hand and then go back to what they were doing. And that did happen a lot. There are some people who carried on after the strikes to go into politics and really did make a difference. But the majority of them just went back to the kitchen and raised their families and all wonderful, important things. But there are no history books written about the incredible things that women have done over our entire history.
Why do you think that is? I mean, is that something that men have done intentionally? Like, why? Like, at the core of it, why is that? Why do we have this this misogynistic problem since I don't know how long?
There are many schools of thought on this. Many schools of thought, and you could research this for decades. My personal belief, it is a societal function because women are better organisers. We're better at fixing things. It's innate in us, and I think the patriarchy was a system that was set up because men wanted to hold the power. They wanted to be important, and the thing is, the patriarchy isn't something that just impacts women. It impacts men as well, because it is a belief and a focus on men being a certain way as well. So you have to be the big I am, the person who brings home the bread, the person who makes the money, who's in control, who's the head of the house. That has just been the standard for so long. And it just feeds into, I guess for me, everything's political. It is the people with the wealth and the power want to keep the wealth and the power. And to be able to do that, there needs to be a system of control. Patriarchy is a system of control for women and for men, because it takes a lot of energy, I think, for men to take away their emotional side, for men to chip away at their very core to become this stoic, in charge, I've got it all together, I'm the person who's the boss.
Yeah.
That's not a natural way for anybody to be.
It's not. I mean, and when you look at like the suicide rates of men and women, and that, these days there's more men unaliving themselves than women, that's not a coincidence either. But then, what I struggle with, and I don't discredit the patriarchy. I know that that's real, and would class myself as a feminist if I spoke to anyone. What I struggle with, and I have this conversation with my partner, is that younger generations of men that I'm speaking to don't seem inherently misogynistic and do seem aware of the issues around the patriarchy, and yet they don't seem to be comfortable in themselves either. And there's some arguments that now men have gone too far the other way, and and tell me if this is wrong or what your thoughts are on this, where men don't know their place in society, and I'm talking specifically like 30 down, like the younger generations, because they're kind of growing up in this new societal space where there's been a lot of I don't know if badgering is the right word, but like badgering on men. And I think it's partly justified for the older generations, but they're not for the younger. But the younger generations are kind of taking the overspill of that.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that, where you've got older generations of men, and I like, no offense to any older generations of men that are watching this, but the older generations you go, the worse it fucking is. And then the younger generations of men that don't know their place anymore, and a lot of them don't even know how to navigate being a man in the world.
Because patriarchy only exists because the goalposts keep changing. I think it was, so for our granddad's generation, maybe even our father's generation, it was very much about having money, power, control. And that's what kept everybody in line, because you were reaching for that. You were never going to succeed at getting that, by the way. There are the people who rule the world and uphold patriarchy are people whose names we probably will never know, because they're hidden away with their billions. There's one particular who is now a trillionaire, who I will not name because we all know who he is. But the goalposts have changed. So there are younger men now who are very acutely aware of patriarchy and feminism and are allies and are on board. But now what's happening is we're telling them, okay, well, no, we don't want you to be powerful. We want you to be more feminine, or we want you to be... The goalposts are continuously changing, so that now younger people are aware of it, but they're not fitting into where they're supposed to be. And I do think that there's a lot of conversation around having to fit into certain boxes, which is ludicrous, because we should never have to fit into any box. But people can't find that. And I do think the conversations, and this is going to take us on a massive tangent, I'm sure, but conversations around gay rights, trans rights, feminism, all of that, they're not honest conversations that we're having, because there are bad faith actors who are coming in to sort of stir the pot and make everything a binary conversation. Yeah. So if you agree with trans rights, then you mustn't. I met a woman, for example, and this is why women are problematic as well as men in the whole system of patriarchy and power. I met a woman who said that she would never support trans rights because that takes away from being a woman.
Oh, yeah, I've heard this before.
So they're trans exclusionary radical feminists, TERFs, which is just, for me... None of that should matter. People who spend far too much time worrying about what is in other people's pants, I'm like, come on, like, have a life, please. It's really disturbing, it's really upsetting, but it helps division. So these ideas around things like TERFs, about how misogyny, racism, homophobia, it's all coming back because these bad faith actors are planting these seeds so that we will continue to fight with each other. Okay,
so 2 points. Just to go back to the patriarchy. So in a nutshell, are you saying that it's like a construct to divide people rather than a way of empowerment for men?
I don't think men need empowerment. I think they already have it. And I know a lot of men will disagree with that because they're not the men at the top earning the billions. It is a construct of power, yes, but also a construct of control. And it's making sure we all stay where we belong. And that is
at the detriment of men and women, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously, I'm a women's rights activist. I very much believe women are amazing and should do all the things they want to do in the world. But that is not pie. It doesn't take away from what men want to do. But the patriarchy is a system, is a construct, as you so eloquently put, a construct put in to exert power and control over everybody. And we lap it up, and we have done for years.
Like, what is the alternative to patriarchy? What's it called? Is
matriarchy? Yeah.
Or does that then become the same problem?
Yeah, potentially. There shouldn't be a system where one is more powerful than the other. But having said that, a matriarchy in its essence would be a caring society rather than a power-led society.
Due to the nature of men and women, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think so as well. A lot of people would argue with that as well, which is fine. But I think like it doesn't take much to see that maternal instincts are a bit different to paternal instincts, and we take like natural roads in like just caring for children.
Yeah. So I have huge ideas around that as well.
Please
I have
tell me,
huge
please.
problems
Yeah,
around
amazing.
that. So before I had kids, I was very much like, women just naturally are just so much more caring, and we just have a brain for these things. And I'm like, do we have a brain for these things, or are we just conditioned to be the default parent?
I do think in every because you see it with gay couples, whether men or women, that one will take a more traditional maternal role, and the other paternal. They'll be like the main caregiver. I think this is like a lot of this comes down to wording, right? Because we have friends in the home ed community where the mother goes out and works 5 days a week, long hours, and the father's at home looking after the kids. And so it's like he's not taking the mother role, he's taking the main caregiver role.
Absolutely.
And he's great at it. So it does flip the whole narrative on its head, doesn't it?
It does. And I think that word tradition is the problem because traditionally women just do it. And that is the essence of the problem in so many things, the expectation that women will just do it. For example, in lots of places of work, women can get carer leave and men can't, because women are the ones who have to go to the school meetings and look after poorly children. And that there is just an innate expectation of that. And we have so much work to do to unpick it, by the way. I am officially married to one of the good ones. My husband, I think he would class himself as a feminist. He's, very equal rights. And still, I definitely have the mental load that he doesn't. And the mental load is from I know when the doctor's appointments are, I know when PE days are, I know when school trips are, I know who needs what when. And
is that because of conditioning that you've naturally taken those roles and he's naturally let you take them on?
I think so.
Yeah, even without you to, just subconsciously, these are what we do sort of thing.
I think so. And I'm a victim of the patriarchy, and I'm a victim of the whole structure around it, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it because I do just jump in, and if I just left it a minute, then Paul, my husband, would do it. But I'm like, well, no, then why aren't you the person who just does the thing? Yeah, or even, I could go on for hours about relationship dynamics, but the expectation of something from your partner is such a tricky one, because without them knowing, how would they ever know, right? True.
So the conversation is, we need to normalize having conversations about the little things.
Yes.
Where it's like, why am I doing this? Why am I in charge of this thing that I don't want to do?
Yeah.
And it being safe to have that conversation.
100%. I think conversation and communication is key in all of this, because we're not going to change this system unless we're talking about it between ourselves. And I was really guilty of that. I lived in my own head for so long. I was clattering things around the house. Why am I the one doing it? Really angry mom syndrome, and this is the whole
angry mom syndrome.
And angry mom, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And it's like the term nag, I hate that so much because
It's loaded, isn't it?
So loaded.
When really it's not nag, it's struggling. It's struggling.
I'm
right?
really, really struggling, and I've asked you 3 times, and I think it lends itself to, I guess, having a sort of ADHD brain as well. I want things done, and if my husband's not doing it when I ask him to do it, then it's going to sit there and I'm going to stew on it. So I'm like, I'll just do it myself. And I think I've gotten into that rhythm of like, do you know what? I'll just do it myself. And then you get into that without, and that's unfair.
It's unfair on both of you.
Yeah.
Because a consequence of that is you build up resentment, which isn't anybody's fault, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult though, because without the awareness of it all, you're just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns into something. I'd like to go back to the word feminism, because I've got like a real spectrum of friends, and some of them are right on board with me, like waving the feminism flag, if you like, and some are like anti-feminism. And the ones that are anti-feminism, I try not to get into too much of a conversation with in certain moments. That's a mistake in itself, actually. Those are the people I should be having the conversation with. But I don't think they understand what feminism means. And I think a lot of blokes are scared of the word because on some level they feel like it's threatening to them.
Yeah.
So how would you define feminism, and what's the difference between that and a woman that hates men?
So the simple answer is a woman who hates men is probably a reaction to a woman who's had to deal with a lot of toxic men in her life. Also, there's a term for that. It's called misandry, which is the partner to misogyny. You hear about it less because it happens less.
Misandry.
Misandry is the women who actively dislike men. Same as misogyny is the other, was vice versa.
I'm surprised men haven't got hold of that word more.
I'm sure they'll pick it up. I'm sure it'll find
I'll make this a clip. Giving you a new weapon.
Congratulations. So misandry is the fundamental dislike and not wanting to engage with men and everything that men stand for. There's not a lot of that about. Feminism, on the other hand, is the belief that we should all be equal in a world where women have spent centuries being lesser than. So it is not about bringing men down. It's not about hating men. It's about giving us equality of opportunity, because we don't have it at the minute. And at the rate we're currently going, even with the gender pay gap, I'll be dead before it's equal. So it's decades away. So when people say, oh, well, we're there now and now it's gone too far, that's just a reaction to women finding their voice and it being uncomfortable for people.
So feminism is literally the equality of men and women.
Yes.
About fairness.
Yes.
About what I'd like to think the majority of people would agree with.
You would hope so.
Including a lot of men.
Yes.
Do you think men are put off by the word just because it's got the word feminine?
Potentially.
And that they think it's then a bias towards women?
Yeah. And do you know what? For me, it is a bias towards women, because it's the women who need to be brought up. And that, I think that is why it's called feminism, because for decades we have been the weaker sex, the lesser race of humans. That's the work we need to do to make ourselves equal. And again, as I say, there are a lot that the men I speak to who are angry about it and who kind of, and I think I prefer it when people are angry about it, because I feel like that we can have a discourse there. It's the people who go,
yeah, they don't want that's the infuriating reaction.
It's so annoying, because I'm like, it's not that for the women who are going through it, the women who don't have the opportunity that men do.
Why do you think it's so difficult for men to look at it from the view of women's experience without feeling triggered by it? Because that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of men are feeling triggered and reactive because women are trying to voice their experience.
I think if you're feeling attacked by women wanting an equal say to you, then maybe have a look at yourself and why you don't want women to have the same opportunity as you. Is it because you feel intimidated by a woman doing a better job than you?
Yeah.
Is it because
which is a problem in itself.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And it's, I do think there's a level of understanding that needs to happen from a male perspective, particularly men who are getting angry at the idea of feminism, to actually unpick that and go, well, what would be the problem if women had the same chances you had? What is that taking away from you, and why is that a problem for you? Because it shouldn't be. If you believe that, then fundamentally you believe you should be better than a woman, which is not really okay in my book anyway.
So you've moved. So you were kind of politically active in the definition of it, and then later on you moved to the world of film.
Yes.
How do you make that transition, and how do you make that transition, and how do you carry the political activism within this like new space?
So for me, I think being in film, being involved in it is always something I've wanted to do. But again, it's a class issue as well as anything else, is that that wasn't for me. And so getting involved in the trade union movement was how I was able to sort of talk about these things. And through that, I met Ken Loach, who, if you don't know who Ken Loach is, you should watch his films. He's amazing. He's like just had his 89th birthday, I think, and he has won every single award going. He's a film director, and all of his films talk about social justice. And
Is he a northerner?
No, he's from London.
Oh, is he?
I think he's...
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, I know.
Right? But like...
No, absolutely. And I think he's like we've adopted him. We'll take him. But he spent years talking about like injustices all over the world, and speaks very much for working class people. And his last film that he filmed in the Northeast. It was called The Old Oak. And when they were casting for that, they sent emails out to trade unions saying they'd like to speak to people and audition people. And I was like, oh my God, this is my dream. It's happening. So I was like, I'm going to go. And I was really nervous. But his audition process is very much, he'll just sit in a room and have a chat with you. So tell me about yourself. What do you do? And then him and his writer, Paul, will find a way to put those stories into his film.
Lush.
And then he will do another audition. And I got to the next round of auditions, which was like a proper audition with an actor. And I was like, oh, that's really scary. I've never done this before. But I was so excited. And that went really well. I got a tiny, tiny part in the film. And the first day on set, I was just in awe of every single person on that set. I was like, I want to know what everybody does. I want to know who these people are. Who's this guy with a walkie-talkie? Who's this guy with an earpiece? What are you? It was like a magical world. I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. And then we started shooting, and all the conversations that were happening in the room, the dialogue was so important, and it was about working class culture. And this one in particular was about immigration. I was like, this is the way to do it. This is the way to get through to people. If you can say something in an entertaining way, then you're not shoving ideas down people's throat. Like,
how old are you at this point, just for context?
This was only 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a late comer to it. I'm very late.
Which is yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah,
that's important in itself.
And I think I'd just spent so long standing on podiums, giving speeches to people who'd heard it all before and already agreed with me.
During your political activism days. Yeah, right.
And I was starting to find it too triggering and too toxic to talk to the people who fundamentally disagreed with me because they don't want to listen.
And those are the people in the room, right?
Yeah.
So you're preaching to a brick wall in those spaces.
Absolutely. And I was finding it really difficult because, I mean, you'd never win an argument by telling somebody they're wrong.
No. As much as you want it to.
Exactly. And when you walk into these political spaces, you've already sat down and you're opposed to each other. So
yeah.
At this point, you're just trying to win points.
It's a loaded room, right?
It's horrendous. Yeah. So when I saw what Ken was doing, and these things like Daniel Blake, for example, like that is the working class watch that and everybody feels it. It is so intense and heartbreaking, and we all know somebody who's going through it. with PIP payments and all the things that are just horrendous for working class people. And the people, I guess, right wing, left wing, whatever, can relate to it. But it's like, it makes an obvious point of things should be funded better and people should be treated like humans and stuff that's important to say, but in a way that everybody can access and they don't feel left out of it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Had no idea how to do it, but I was like, I'm going to do this. And so that was literally that day I made that decision.
Yeah, that was the spark that started.
Yeah.
What is your role within the industry now? What would your titles be essentially?
So I'm a multi-hyphenate.
What is that, Laura?
I do lots of things.
Okay.
I do lots of things. This actually does feed into being a woman, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. Not just because I'm greedy and I want all the things, which is probably also true, but because I feel like I need to get some credibility before I'm taken seriously.
Okay.
And so to do that, I need to have a good understanding of every single aspect. If I was able to, I would just direct and act. They're my two passions. So I am a director, for mainly in short films at the minute. I do act, which I love. It allows me to be somebody completely different and explore other people's thought processes and things like that, which is all amazing. I write, and that is where I try and get my I guess political views across and try and think what's important to talk about right now and try and do that in a clever way so it doesn't look so obvious.
I was going to say, do you intentionally do it in a way that you'll be able to get the message across to men without them instantly getting triggered or switched off by it?
I try.
Or do you intentionally lean into the triggering part?
Both.
Right.
When I intentionally lean into it, I go hard.
Yeah, make the fucking message clear.
Yeah, I've just finished a film. February, I think we released it. It's called Not All Men.
Okay.
So there's no subtext there. It just is what it is. One of my colleagues who I work a lot with.
Not all men. That says so much already, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's really intense and it comes with trigger warnings. It's not an enjoyable watch. It looks great. It looks beautiful. And it's written really well, but it's not an enjoyable watch. And we did that intentionally. So myself and someone who I collaborate with a lot, Chris Darby, he initially wrote it based on a conversation that he'd had with friends in a room of men all going, well, we're not really sure what happened. She is a flirt.
Oh, God. Yeah, one of those.
One of those. So he wrote this scene and it was lovely. And I was like, I think it needs more. I think we can do more with this. So we split it into 3 parts and it's not all men. So these men, after the end of a party where something's happened, having a conversation in the room, having that conversation that many men have been involved in with, she was asking for it, did you see what she was wearing? And we don't know that this happened. But then we've got But All Women as the second part, which is the group of women who are all going, well, we don't know what happened. And
why? Because they don't want to be targeted as, they want to be seen as an ally of men.
One of the characters is very much like defensive about it. And like we have to speak to her, we don't know. And then it transpires that it's because she was attacked and no one believed her and she doesn't want her friend to go through all of this. And the conversation around the room then goes, I had this experience, I had this experience, I had this. And all the women in the room have had an experience, which is true to life, because you'll probably find that any woman in your life will have had some experience. And that's just a fact, and it's not very nice.
No, 100%. And just where can people see these?
So Not All Men, I think I've just put it on YouTube because
I'll put
I just
a link
wanted
in the
people to see
description.
it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Please be careful watching it. Don't watch it around children, because part 3. So the whole point of part 1 and part 2 is that you listen to everyone with an open mind and go, oh, well, maybe this person's right, maybe this, well, we don't know. And it's all real life conversations. All the stories in it are true as well. So when you hear the women talk, it's not true to the actors, but they are true stories that I've put in there.
People love it when it's a true story. It's almost like it gives it more credibility, but it shouldn't, because these stories are like, it's not a one-off case.
Well, absolutely,
but you
right?
gotta, but to say it's like from. So yeah, then the third one.
And then the third part is what actually happened, and it makes you realize that all of this conversation's not important. Like,
I love that.
Did she? Did he? Did they? All of that is not important. This is what's important.
What do you say to men that would make the argument that some women... I might edit this out because I already don't like myself saying it. What would you... It's just because I've got certain guys in my head that I can hear them going, me.
Yeah.
So what would you say to men that have the argument that some women do fake... They will pinpoint a man and say, oh, he did this to me when he didn't? And to caveat, the minority of cases is that, right? More than, I don't think
tiny,
generally anyone wants to pretend something's happened to them when it hasn't.
Exactly, 100%. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Of course it does. That is actually one of the characters in the film. That is his response, because we've all had that conversation. We've all heard it. And I think it's really important to, in this respect, it's really important to know the stats. And that is... less than 3% of reported rapes go to court. And that's reported rapes. People don't tend to report because they know that statistic. You are more often than not going to be attacked by somebody you know. So there's a lot of like internal problems there around like the politics of friendships and family members. When it comes to women saying things, women aren't believed. They're just not, and that is why the percentages are so low around reporting. So when someone says, oh, well, this woman said this and I didn't even do anything. Did you not? Did you not? Did you say something that made her feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, right.
Did you do something that maybe not have been intentional, but actually if you step back and actually be honest with yourself, was it okay?
Yeah.
And the ones who do cry rape when it's not real, it's such a tiny percentage that really, let's not dilute the main conversation with that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's such a bullshit argument for people to use. The fact that one person might have cried rape when they didn't doesn't discount the many that did, and we should take every case seriously.
Exactly.
You know, because it's a serious thing. How was that for you, being a woman and also coming later on? Did it feel difficult to get into the industry? If
I'm being very honest with myself and with all your listeners, not really.
Cool.
I think I have... this is going to sound awful. I think I have a level of...
Tolerance?
I was going to... Yeah. Maybe white privilege... I would never admit to this, but I guess maybe a bit of pretty privilege. Like I look a certain way, or I used to when I was younger. I have a bit of privilege that comes with being older in that respect.
Yeah.
It works the opposite for other things, but because I'm a little bit older and I've come to the industry, I think people just like assume I know what I'm doing and assume that I come with credibility because I'm a bit older.
And you probably come in with a bit more confidence in yourself, right? Like being a bit older. Or present that way. Anyway.
Yeah, certainly present that way. And I think as well, I've just got more life experience, and I can spot like shitheads much easier.
Well, and I guess you've dealt with a lot more dickheads now than someone in their teens might have, because sometimes young people aren't even aware that they're being treated to like shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's like there's undertones of it and there's like lots of passive aggression.
Yeah, and I think having sort of been through a lot of my life, having to deal with difficult people like we all have, and you get to a certain age where that just doesn't faze you anymore and you know how to deal with it. I think people want to be on my sets now because they know that I have a boundary for that. I'm like, we just won't tolerate bad behaviour. We're going to be nice to each other. I don't care if you have different opinions on things. We talk things through. That I haven't been on a set yet, one of my sets anyway, where there's been friction.
Yeah.
It's always been really nice. And I think that's because I constantly get called the ma'am of the set, which I equally love and equally hate. Stop just making me someone's ma'am. Because you've got, once you get to my age, you are either someone's ma'am or a doctor. And that's it. That's all you get. So people do see me as like a mothering sort of figure, and I do care about people.
Yeah,
I want to hug everybody and make sure everybody's happy. But I think because I'm a mum as well, people just want to work with me, and I think with that comes a bit.
People
of
want to feel safe, don't they?
Yes, in an industry where you tend to feel unsafe a lot of the time, I will say.
No, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
On your, is it called a crew?
Yes.
Within your crew, do you lean more towards having women on your crew, or is that an intentional thing?
I try to make it intentional. I do try to look for women that I can work with and that are available. Not because I want to leave men out, but because I find that there's more men, so there's plenty of jobs
Within the film industry. And do you feel, or is it not? Do you feel is it that more men get opportunities in crews? Like, is it more biased towards having men on a crew than women?
Yes,
right.
I think so. And also
it's your responsibility to get more women on then.
Absolutely. Well, right. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. And
lead the way.
I think if I can continue with my career path and do well, I want it to be majority women.
Yeah,
I would love that. They're so organised and they're so lovely. They do a really good job. Not that men don't, but especially with the types of films that I make.
Yeah.
I feel it's important to create a safe space for the actresses as well, who are going to be doing the things that they're doing in my films. I have been made aware and have spoken to many actresses who've had experiences on sets that have not been very nice. One in particular we made a short film about. It's called The Prop. It is available on YouTube. Please go and watch it. It's a comedy, but we had to make it a comedy because the topic was so serious, and it is about a young girl who I've worked with a few times now. She's incredible. She's so professional and she's really talented, but I don't think she stands up for herself as much as she should. But when you're young, women aren't really trained to do that. And she was on a set, all men, and the scene that she was filming this particular day was meant to be a kissing scene. And then she got there and they said, right, your outfit is in the other room, go and get changed and then come back in. And when she went, it was a see-through negligee that they hadn't agreed beforehand.
That's just ridiculous.
It's awful. And then there were no women on the set. And then the director had decided on the day, do you know what, we're going to make this a sex scene instead, not just a kissing scene. And then...
But how does that happen? That's such a fail.
It's a huge fail on the part of everybody on that set.
Yeah.
And
what a shit experience for her as well.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. To the point where the scene wasn't going exactly how we wanted. So the director said, got the actor out, and then he climbed on top of her to show exactly what he wanted to do. And I'm like, wow. In what world is that okay? But and what I want to make clear is this is not just the Harvey Weinsteins of the world. This is happening on small indie films, which this was. A lot of the crew were unpaid. They were doing it for credits, and everybody kept their mouth shut.
I was going to say, so many people stay quiet because they don't want to lose their career path, right?
And the actress stayed quiet as well. She just went along with it. But for me, that's the onus isn't on her to go, actually, this isn't really okay. You should already know that. But with one of so that then perpetuated the start of something that I started called Fem93, which is a community interest company, and we basically do workshops on how to get into the industry. We, after that event, started a charter called the Safe Space on Set Charter, which we are trying to get production companies from around the region and nationally and internationally would be wonderful to sign up to. And it's just having somebody on set who isn't part of the crew, who hasn't been involved in the development, so there's no conflict of interest. They are there specifically to be a point of contact for anybody on that set who feels uncomfortable but doesn't want to go to the director.
God, why doesn't that exist already?
I don't know.
That's such a
yeah. It's so important. And the thing is, we have intimacy coordinators, but the director could ask you to do something that's got nothing to do with love scenes, that doesn't make you feel comfortable. You can go to the safe space on set officer and have a chat, and then they can be the intermediary to start
And
having
navigate
those
it in a safe place.
Yeah.
That's
So I'll
genius.
send you the link for that, and you
Yeah,
can,
put it all, we'll have it all in the description.
Yeah.
That's so important. When you're creating scripts or films and you're trying to inject it with a political view, what is the ultimate goal? Because I appreciate some pieces of work are to make a statement, some are to kind of share awareness, and some are to kind of just connect with others. What do you lean towards? Is it about is it to kind of help men, or is it to support women, or is it a combination?
I think it's a combination. What I hope to achieve is that my work starts conversations. I don't want to be the finished article. I don't claim to know it all. I like to highlight issues and say, maybe we should talk about this. Maybe this isn't okay. I think if I tried to come in and be a white savior for all of the issues of the world, I don't think that would sit well with people, because we all have different opinions on how things should be. But if we can have discussions and fair discussions and get people thinking about their behaviour or the treatment of other people in the world and what's okay and what's not okay, that's really important to me, because ultimately we are living in a world that is led by faceless people that we will never meet. The only thing we can do is have community and look after each other, and we're being torn apart by all the things we've talked about earlier, all the little grains of sand that get in between our fingers and our toes and just rub away at us, and they don't matter. These problems that we have at the minute have been given to us by people who want us to have these problems and this division. All we can do is try and create community and try and bridge the divide between us, because like Joe Cox says, there is far more that unites us than divides us, and we should just try and live our lives a bit more like that.
I think it's important to mention that this isn't about blaming men as much as it is trying to help them see what's happening.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think we're all living our own singular life, and then we hold up, we weigh all the problems on our shoulders like we're being blamed for everything. Mm-hmm. And it's no, it's more than that. It's not about just us. It's just listen to what's being said.
I think it's really, really easy to gloss over, ignore, pretend it's not happening when the issues don't impact you personally. So I think that's another reason why the whole Black Lives Matter movement got such...
I was just thinking that.
It was so awful, the reaction to that from people who were like, well, all lives matter. Of course they do, but you've missed the point. And it's the same for so many things. And I think you need to check your own privilege.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
No, and I mean, I remember, because I've had a similar conversation around feminism and misogyny with my partner, and I was like, but men struggle too. And then she's like, yeah, they do. And that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
And it's no one's saying that men don't struggle. No one's saying that there's not a crisis, if you like, with male suicide rates, but that is a different conversation.
Yeah.
And one of the big conversations is about the patriarchy and misogyny, and how men just fucking need to look at it and be an ally rather than rejecting it.
Yeah.
Because for whoever's listening, you might be a man that has never actively done something aware, knowingly negative to a woman, but you're still a bloke, and you might have a mate who does.
Yeah.
And often men will listen to other men before they'll listen to other women. So if you've got a dickhead mate, you're the one that could get through to him.
Absolutely.
Potentially.
Absolutely.
But that's difficult to explain to
It
people.
it is. And I think there's a comedian who said it so perfectly. It's like if there's 10 men in a room, one of them's a rapist and the other 9 don't say anything, they might as well not be there.
Yeah.
So it's we need guys to speak to each other, and we need you to call your friends out when they're doing things. And the thing is, it's not just about sexual abuse and rape and the upper echelons of shitty things men can do. It's this low-level misogyny that you might not even notice. It's jokes about her. It's
the type that grates away at a woman over time. Yeah.
It's not doing equal labour at home. It's her indoors jokes, in particular, really great on me. It's perpetuating that whole stereotype of this is what women are and this is what men are, because that hurts everybody. Because actually, as we've seen, everything's fluid and you don't have to be in these two sort of rigid boxes. And it just, as you've said, it hurts all of us. So just be a bit more aware of it and maybe think, oh, maybe that's not okay. And put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And that's how we build community, by trying. You're never going to be able to live somebody else's life and understand fully what they go through. But you can be aware of it and you can watch and you can have conversations and do it with kindness. And I hated that whole be kind movement in a way, because I found that people thought they could just put be kind on their Facebook status and then go away and act like twats. It's like, you got to put in the work. It's not nice to accept that you might be a problem.
Yeah.
But we all have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could talk for hours about privilege and what we carry, but that's for another day. But yeah, thank you for coming in today and talking to me about this.
Thank you so much for letting me have a little rant.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And like, just to add, I didn't even really understand what feminism was until about 5 years ago when I lived, no, more than, it was about 10 years ago, but it's irrelevant. But it was a bit like with the racial thing. Like, I didn't realize that things that I was saying was actually racist.
Feminism's the same as racism. You don't get to decide what's racist to other people. You don't get to decide how they react to something you've said.
Exactly. I was like, for a long time, I was just living like I don't want to like downplay it, but like, you know, my white privileged male life. And until I was made aware that not everyone has that, then I didn't know.
Yeah.
And at first, it's a bit of, there's like, you don't want to believe it almost. And you're like, oh, but you're threatening my life now. And it's like, no, just open your eyes to what else is going on. No one's asking you to enjoy life less. It's just appreciate that other people have got it differently.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Anyway, thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much.
Nice one.